Hey everybody, welcome to Lift the Cup Fantasy, or LTC Fantasy as some call it, and today is our Week 21 strategy episode. We're going to hopefully find you them players to get you that win in Week 21. Before we get into some players to help, some things to note. Light nights this week are Monday, there's only one game. Wednesday, there's 4 games. Friday, 6 games. And Sunday, 6 games. Teams that only play twice this week are Anaheim, Colorado, Minnesota, Seattle, St. Louis, and Tampa Bay. So if you do have some players on your teams that are borderline, those wouldn't be the players that you'd look to drop. And some 4-game weeks for a number of teams, including Arizona, Dallas, the Islanders, Rangers, Ottawa, San Jose, Vancouver, and Washington. We will focus on Monday and Wednesday teams, those light nights. The Friday and Sunday light nights we'll cover later in the week in our Weekend Ads episode. And then we'll also cover the remaining teams that do play 4 games that don't play Monday or Wednesday. Do note that Ottawa is the only team that plays Monday and Wednesday on those off nights. And don't forget to check out the description, because there I'll list where to find Monday defensemen and forwards, Wednesday defensemen and forwards, and then the other 4 gamers defensemen and forwards. That way, if you need to come back to the video to find a piece you need to get you that win due to injury, etc., things change throughout the week for sure. That way you can find it, get what you need, and get on with kicking the other guy's butt. And don't forget to subscribe. That way, if you do need to come back to the video to find that extra piece, it's easier to find the video and get what you're looking for. So we'll move along to some Monday defensemen to look at. Some that I really like is Shane Gostisbehere from the Arizona Coyotes. He's on the first pairing, first power play unit, only owned in 38% of Yahoo leagues, and he has 8 points in his last 9 games. Another one from Arizona that's really turned it around this season is Jacob Chikrin, owned in 59% of Yahoo leagues. He had a really good season last year, and then he started out really slow this year. He's third pairing, second power play, and he's back up to having 10 points in his last 6 games. From Ottawa, they're the other team that's playing. It's kind of a stretch play, but Eric Brandstrom would be a possible pick just because he has some second power play time and plays on the second pairing. But that's only if you're in a real pinch. Moving along to some Monday forwards. Can't help but notice what Arizona's top line has done. And Clayton Keller is one of them. Left wing, right wing, owned in 51% of Yahoo leagues. And he has 17 points in his last 11 games. Another one from that top line is Nick Schmaltz. He's listed as center right winger, only owned in 26% of Yahoo leagues, and he has 22 points in his last 11 games. So, of course, it's kind of hard to keep up a 2-point per game pace, but definitely somebody that's really hot right now. Other ones to consider from Arizona is Travis Boyd, just because he does center that top line, or Phil Kessel, because he does play on the first power play unit, but they're a little bit streakier, so that's if Keller or Schmaltz isn't available in your league. Going over to Ottawa for some Monday forwards, I look at Connor Brown, listed as left wing, right wing, owned in 10% of Yahoo leagues, plays on that top line and second power play unit, and he has 7 points in his last 8 games played. Another one is Josh Norris, listed as a center, 43% owned, plays on that top line and top power play unit, and he has 4 goals and 2 assists in his last 4 games played. So if goals are even weighted a little heavier in your league, that's definitely somebody, and he's still averaging 1.5 a game his last 4. Another one is Tim Stützle, listed as center left wing, owned in 32% of Yahoo leagues. Center's at second line and is on the top power play unit, and he has 7 points in his last 4 games. Last one from Ottawa is Colin White. He's listed as center right winger, only owned in 1% of Yahoo leagues, plays on the third line and top power play unit, and he's been hurt until all season until recently, and in the 7 games that he has played this year, he has 5 points, so definitely somebody that you might be able to sneak under the radar. So we'll get into some Wednesday defensemen. I look at Jonas Brodin from Minnesota, only owned in 8% of Yahoo leagues, plays on the second pairing, and he has 3 points in his last 5 games, so over half point per game, but in those games he also has 9 shots on goal and 6 blocks. Another one from Minnesota is Jared Spurgeon, owned in 56% of Yahoo leagues, plays in that top pairing and top power play unit, and he's been really good the last week and a half here, having 4 points in his last 4 games, and he's also had 6 blocks in those 4 games, so a little bit of added value there. Going to Boston, I like Matt Grzelcyk, only owned in 19% of Yahoo leagues, plays on the second pairing and second power play unit, and he only has 3 points in his last 7 games, so right around half point per game, but he also has 6 shots on goal and 10 blocks in those 7 games, so there's definitely some value in him. Going over to New Jersey, I look at Damon Severson, only owned in 34% of Yahoo leagues, plays in that top pairing and top power play unit, and Hamilton's been back for a little while now, and it hasn't really eaten into his top pairing or power play time, and he has 12 points in his last 13 games played. Another one from New Jersey is Ty Smith, owned in 16% of Yahoo leagues, plays on the third pairing, and he has 2 goals in his last 3 games played with 6 shots on goal, so he might be trending in the right direction. Nice young defenseman there. Next one is Rasmus Andersson from Calgary, owned in 53% of Yahoo leagues, plays in that top pairing and top power play unit, and he's had a decent season and he's really turned it up of late, having 8 points in his last 7 games. Another one to consider from Calgary is Noah Hannafin if Anderson isn't available, just because he does play on that second power play unit, and he's been having a fairly solid season as well. Over in Columbus, look at Vladislav Gavrikov, sorry, little tongue twister there, 7% owned, plays on that second pairing, and he's quietly had a decent season, having 25 points in 55 games played, and he's had 94 blocks this year. So definitely some value there for a streamer. Last one is Mark Giordano from Seattle, owned in 48% of Yahoo leagues. He plays on the top pairing and top power play unit. Now he's been pointless in the last 6 games played, but he does put some stretches together, so it might be worthwhile streaming him if you are in a desperate situation there. Moving over to some Wednesday forwards, I really like Matt Boldy from Minnesota, listed as left winger, right winger, owned in 28% of Yahoo leagues, plays in that second line and first power play unit, and he's had 3 goals and 2 assists in his last 5 games played, and has also fired 13 shots on net in those 5 games. Another one is Marcus Foligno from Minnesota, listed as left winger, right winger, owned in 47% of Yahoo leagues, plays on the third line and second power play unit, and he's had a pretty good season, especially if you're in a banger league. He has 31 points in 51 games played, so okay production, but he's thrown 163 hits. So if hits are counted in your league, that's definitely somebody to look at. Next one is Eric Holla from Boston, listed as center left winger, owned in 9% of Yahoo leagues, centers at second line and second power play unit, and he has 8 points in his last 8 games played. Another one I like from Boston, there's a few of them, is Jake DeBrusk, listed as center right winger, owned in 19% of Yahoo leagues, plays on that top line and second power play unit, and he's been a little cold in the last 5, having only 1 point in the last 5 games, but before that he's had 9 points in the previous 5, so overall it's 10 points in 10 games played, but getting that extra ice time's definitely helped him in Boston. Next one from Boston is Charlie Coyle, listed as center right winger, owned in 8% of Yahoo leagues, plays on the third line and second power play unit, and he's had a really good last week and a half here, having 4 points in his last 4 games. Next one is Craig Smith, listed as a right winger, only owned in 6% of Yahoo leagues, and he's on that third line with Coyle and second power play unit. He's been really hot the last 2.5, 3 weeks, having 9 points in his last 8 games. Going over to New Jersey, some players that are really interesting is Yegor Sharangovich, listed as center, left wing, and right wing, only owned in 12% of Yahoo leagues, and he's been hot, having 13 points in his last 12 games played. Really helps playing with Jack Hughes there. Another one is the other part of that top line is Dawson Mercer, listed as center right winger, owned in 6% of Yahoo leagues, and he has 9 points in his last 9 games played. Another one from New Jersey that might kind of slip under is Pavel Zacha, Listed as center left winger, only owned in 5% of Yahoo leagues. Currently on the second line and second power play unit, and he's had 9 points in his last 11 games played. So if some of those other guys aren't available, that might be somebody you can sneak in because he got bumped up to the second line after Heeshire got hurt there. Going over to Calgary, I really like Tyler Toffoli. He's listed as left winger, right winger, and he's up to 63% owned. People are definitely taking notice what he's been doing since coming over to Calgary. He's on the third line and top power play unit, and he has 10 points in his last 7 games played. Another one that I like from Calgary is Blake Coleman, listed as left winger, right winger, owned in 36% of Yahoo leagues. Plays on the second line and second power play unit, and he has 7 points in his last 9 games played. He started out really slow, but been really good since COVID break over Christmas, really. And going over to Columbus, some players that I do like is Boone Jenner, listed as center left winger, owned in 61% of Yahoo leagues. Plays on that top line and top power play unit, and he has 10 points in his last 11 games. Another one from Columbus is Jakub Voracek, left winger, right winger, owned in 48% of Yahoo leagues. Currently on the second line and top power play unit. Every once in a while he does get bumped up to the top line, and he has 11 points in his last 11 games played. Next one from Columbus is Oliver Borkstrand, listed as left winger, right winger, owned in 47% of Yahoo leagues. Plays on that second line and first power play unit, and he has 4 goals and 1 assist in his last 6 games. So again, if goals are weighted a little bit higher in your league, that's definitely somebody to consider. Last one from Columbus is Jack Roslovich, listed as center right winger, only owned in 3% of Yahoo leagues. He plays on that second line and second power play unit, and he has 6 points in his last 8 games played. Next one to consider from Columbus is Gustav Nyquist. He's another option just because he does play on that top line with Jenner, and he does get some second unit power play time. Next one from Tampa is Corey Perry, the wily old veteran. He's listed as a right winger, only owned at 8% of Yahoo leagues. Plays on the third line and second power play unit, and he's been putting up some decent numbers of late, having 8 points in his last 10 games. So definitely worth streaming for a night if you can get him. Moving over to Seattle, I like Jared McCann, listed as center left winger, only owned in 22% of Yahoo leagues. He plays on the top line and top power play unit, and he's had a really strong season until he got injured. And he just came back from injury, and he did score against Ottawa the other nights, and he's been having a solid year, so definitely worth a look. Next one from Seattle is Kelly Yarncroc, listed as left winger, right winger, only owned in 1% of Yahoo leagues. Plays on that second line and second power play unit. Every once in a while, he does bump up to the top power play, sometimes top line, and he has 11 points in his last 14 games played. Another option from Seattle is Jaden Schwartz. He's also, like McCann, was injured and just came back, so that's somebody that you might be able to take a flyer on if you're in a deep league for sure. So now we'll move into some other D-men that play 4 games this week but don't play Monday or Wednesday. And I look at Dallas and Ryan Suter, owned in 22% of Yahoo leagues, plays on the second pairing and second power play unit, and he's been really good of late, having 6 points in his last 6 games. Another one from Dallas is John Klingberg, owned in 64% of Yahoo leagues, so his ownership is up there, but available in a little over the third of the leagues. He's on that second pairing and top power play unit, and he has 3 points in his last 2 games there. Going over to the island, I look at Ryan Pulock, only owned in 13% of Yahoo leagues, plays on the third pairing and second power play unit, and he's had 5 assists in his last 3 games. Another one from the island is Noah Dobson, owned up to 57% owned now. He was down there for quite a while. People are taking notice. He's on the second pairing and top power play unit. He's currently on a 4-game point streak where he has 1 goal and 4 assists for 5 points. Another one to consider from San Jose is Erik Karlsson. He's back from injury there. He has owned in 63% of Yahoo leagues. He's on the second pairing and second power play unit, and he had 2 assists in his first game that he came back from injury there. Last defenseman is Dmitry Orlov from Washington, owned in 51% of Yahoo leagues. Plays on the second pairing and second power play unit, and he's had a really solid season. Puts up some decent shots, decent amount of blocks. Just solid. Not great, but solid numbers all around, and he has 26 points in 55 games played this year. Moving along to some other forwards that play 4 games this week but don't play on Monday or Wednesday. And I look at Jamie Benn from Dallas. He's listed as center left winger, owned in 59% of Yahoo leagues. Plays on the second line and second power play unit, and he has 8 points in his last 7 games played. Next one is Brock Nelson from the Islanders, owned in 18% of the leagues, listed as a center, currently centering that top line with Barzal out, and he's always been on the top power play unit, and he's scored in 3 straight games and has points in 4 straight. Next one from the Islanders is Jean-Gabriel Pageau, listed as a center, owned in 24% of Yahoo leagues, currently on the second line and top power play unit, and he's been hot, having 7 points in his last 7 games played. Next one from the Rangers is Ryan Strome, listed as center right wing, owned in 63% of Yahoo leagues, so his ownership is up there. He's centers the second line and top power play unit, and he has 5 points in his last 6 games, and he gets to play on that second line with Panarin and top power play unit with him, so he's definitely worth streaming for you. Another one to consider, just because he does play on that top line with Zibanejad, is Alex Lafreniere, and he does also get some second unit power play time. Going over to San Jose, I look at Logan Couture, listed as a center, owned in 62% of Yahoo leagues. So again, his ownership's up there, but available in almost 40% of the leagues. Plays on the top line and top power play unit, and he has 7 points in his last 8 games played. Going over to Vancouver, this one might be a little bit of a hidden gem the way he's played lately, but is Tanner Pearson, listed as a left winger, owned in 7% of Yahoo leagues, is on that top line and second power play unit, and he has 9 points in his last 8 games played. And lastly, we'll look at a couple Washington forwards. I look at Anthony Mantha, listed as left winger, right winger, owned in 30% of Yahoo leagues, plays on that second line and second power play unit, and he was injured for a while, but he has back-to-back games at the point now, so he's definitely trending in the right direction, and he was close to a point per game player last year when he was acquired at the deadline. And the last one from Washington is Connor Sheary, listed as left winger, right winger, owned in 5% of Yahoo leagues, plays on that third line and second power play unit, and he has 6 points in his last 5 games played. Really do hope these streamers do help you out in some way, shape, or form. If you did like the episode, please remember to hit like, remember to subscribe, and remember that notification bell so you hear about future episodes. We'll be out later in the week with our waiver wire episode and our weekend ads episode, so we're consistently trending in the right direction to get you that win and push for it for you. And good luck in week 21, fantasy owners.